Do you agree that Nigel Hayes is the most underrated guy?
Could be the case.
Who else do you have then?
Hayes Davis doesn't usually take the spotlight,
Mm-hmm.
but he's one of their most consistent players
He's great all-around
in the last
player.
2 seasons. Not only this season, but we can remember what he did last year. So consistency is key. Like when you are so good and you're playing 32 minutes per game, because that's what he used to be doing. Now maybe they have a different rotation, but
can he be like the most underrated guy if he's the top scorer on his own team?
Oh, Hayes Davis is the top scorer of Fenerbahce?
He's scoring almost
That's
15
crazy.
points per game.
That's crazy.
But he's been really good the whole season. Like,
but talking about underrated, it's maybe
But you never consider him as an, let's say, alpha dog of Fenerbahce.
It's
you know?
like the
You won't
concept-
put him on the cover to describe Fenerbahce.
who would you put
You'd
in?
probably go right now. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
That's
who
a
would
good
you
question.
put it? Like, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. He's been their best guy.
But I think the concept of being underrated is like, are you in those MVP discussions? Do people talk
good
about
points.
you in barbershops and in coffee shops when they talk about basketball? So I am not sure if Nigel Hayes Davis is being mentioned a lot
Probably not.
in such conversations.
Let's say we have this Yorgos Kirgidis, our colleague, had EuroLeague MVP ladder. He involved Mike James, Matthias Lazor, Facundo Campasa, Wade Baldwin, Jan Vesely, Alec Peters,
Shane.
Torneo Shengelia, Chima Moneke, Shane Larkin.
That's it.
And there's no Nigel Hayes Davis. So that's a part of being underrated, probably.
I don't know. I thought about him, but I thought there's one guy that's a little bit even more underrated in my eyes, and that's Bonsi Colson.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's scoring 13 points per game. Great shooting percentages, 58 from 2 points, 39 from 3. He's averaging almost 6 rebounds and almost 2 offensively. And he's like really great on the defensive end, like the active hands. He's always having a ton of deflections defensively for Maccabi, averaging 1.3 steals. And he's turning the ball over only 0.6 times per match while he's playing a lot of minutes for Maccabi. So I think, you know, with Lorenzo Brown and Wade Baldwin there, he's underrated because all you ever hear about Maccabi is those two guys. And Bonsi Colson is, you know, that in my eyes, he's like underrated a little bit. And Nigel, you know, you don't talk about him as an MVP contender, but at the same time, you know, he's the top scorer of the team.
Yeah.
And probably the best two-way player there, offensively and defensively. Not probably, he is.
He is.
So
I have a name as well, and it's not like a superstar player or anything like that. And actually, his team is underperforming. But to me, Luca Mitrovic always seemed very underrated because he's so crafty. His basketball fundamentals are so good. His IQ and everything. So I could see him having a role on a contending team, on a good team. I'm not talking about being the key player, but like the way he's playing in those short roll situations, the way he reads the game, I think it's a bit underrated because you don't actually mention him as a top player for Zvezda because they have a big roster and with names like Teodosic, Nedovic, and some others who can score and who can pass. But I love watching him play, actually. Maybe that's the best description.
any other names? I would
We
just
have
throw
3
in
solid
there.
names, yeah.
Huh?
Okay.
I would just I think Jan Vesely this season is underrated, but maybe he's not.
But
into
in
that
general,
conversation. In general, he's
Vesely
not.
is properly rated.
Yeah.
What do you think about Isaiah Kanan this season?
Yeah, you could have a case just because one thing. We all know he can shoot. We all know he's a streaky scorer. But very often it's overlooked that even though he's undersized, he plays good defense.
Exactly.
He's
really good
He's
on-ball
really
defending.
good at defending the ball and pressuring his man. So that doesn't get mentioned a lot because you focus more on the shooting part.
and because you are concentrated on Thomas Walkup
Also
and
that.
Mustafa Fall and Olympiacos' beautiful play, passing style. Bartzokas, the headlines are Walkup defense, Mustafa Fall, passing, I don't know, Bartzokas, or just Olympiacos in general. Like Isaiah Kanan is never probably in the headlines, and his defense is probably the most underrated part. And the way he's playing on offense this season, he's 57. His percentages are 57, 44, and 90. He's in that club, 50,
I think
40,
it
90.
sometimes feels that somehow every Olympiacos player is underrated.
The whole system
Like
makes those players underrated.
This
a little
week we're saying it's Kanan. Next week we might be
Nigel
saying it's
Williams-Goss.
Nigel Williams-Goss or Shaq McKissick or Alec Peters is probably not underrated anymore since you're seeing him as the second coming of Sasha
Yep.
Vezenkov.
Yep.
But like every week you might watch them play and you start thinking like this guy is underrated because that's just the way this team is.